everyone, it's Jo Carter here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a reading vlog of a non-fiction book that I am reading. It's called Wild Women by Pamela Robson. I thought this would make a good reading vlog because this book is split up into different chapters and each chapter focuses on a different woman who doesn't fit into society's norms and so has been dubbed wild or crazy or a loner or anything like that. And I've had this book on my shelf since 2016. That's what that little tag means. And I was really scared to read it for a while until it finally came up in a Choose My TBR video, which I will link up above. And I just felt really keen to read it. And I don't know why I waited so long because I am loving this book. Absolutely loving it. As soon as I picked it up, I really agree with Pamela Robson and how she writes and her style. Even the introduction was interesting and normally they're boring. First chapter features Njinga, the Queen of Angola. There's a bit of consternation on the internet as to what's correct and what's not. She was an African queen in the 15th century and I really enjoyed reading about her life because she was clinging to her queendom in a time when and with a political climate that didn't believe that women should be queens, that it should be kings. I found a lot of the issues in this quite interesting to read through because it involves like slave trading and European, or is Portugal a part of the European invasion, but like Portugal was trying to invade and colonize and they were sort of half successful and would promise stuff and it never wouldn't get through. And Njinga did a lot to try and hold on to her ruling, and it sounds like she was probably helpful at unifying parts of the country, but I'm a little bit confused. I was really enjoying her story and was like, yes, you know, woman power and everything. And then I found out in a bit more of the story that she actually continued the slave trading and that's how she got really powerful in her position. But I don't know if this is correct because when I googled her, a lot of people were saying that she wasn't for slave trading. I don't know, so I'm really conflicted about it, but it was really fascinating reading about her life. And I literally forgot how like awful it is to be reading an amazing book but also have a full-time job, because whenever I was thinking about this book, I just wanted to read it at work and I had to obviously work and concentrate, so that sucked, but I'm really glad to be reading something good and I'm really glad that I'm finally enjoying this. Good morning everybody, it's Friday morning the 27th of February and I've finished another chapter, another woman's chapter in Wild Women. I'm here with my little dog Koopy. I just finished the story of Mole Cutpurse. People called her Mole Cutpurse because she was a robber, a petty thief for the start of her life. She was alive and in the London underworld when Shakespeare was performing. This one was a bit dubious as well as to what is true and what's not, and Pamela does say that. There wasn't a lot about Mole in this one, and a lot of it was about like the time and London and stuff like that, so I feel like Pamela really wanted to include her in it. Yes, bud. But she didn't always have quite the stuff because Mole is a bit of a legend because a lot of biographers wrote fiction about her, even though they're supposed to be biographers, but they embellished it a lot to suit their own personal gain to make the story more fascinating. Is this what reading non-fiction is like a lot of the time? I don't like not knowing, but I guess unless we're there, how do we know? On to the next one, which is about an Irish pirate. Hey everyone, it's Sunday the 1st of March and I finished reading another chapter, another woman's story, and I thought I would do a get ready with me because I'm about to film my February wrap up and I thought it might be a bit interesting to do something slightly different even though I don't have a big routine. The last chapter I read was about an Irish pirate called Anne Bonny. She was alive during the 1700s. And she's really made me question how I feel about pirates because I've always had a romanticised Disney version in them, like Pirates of the Caribbean with Orlando Bloom and Johnny Depp. God, I nearly forgot his name, and Keira Knightley. But pirates really weren't nice things at all, and I guess that the non-fiction is kind of nice in helping me realise that yeah, they're really not very nice people, and depending on whether the accounts that this particular dude has written are correct or not, Anne was actually one of the awful, scary, fierce pirates, and she actually killed a lot more murderously than what her male counterparts did. always a search for bobby pins. It's a bit messy, but I'm not really going to sit standing video like this. I really did enjoy reading the bits about Anne, but I found a lot of the time, like the other one that I just read about Mole Cuphurst, is that I didn't like how a lot of it focused on like the time period and what it was like to be a pirate back in those days. It didn't really sort of, because there's not a lot of knowledge about some of these women, it doesn't really focus on them much at all. And so we only got little snippets of Anne's life, which was fine because it was interesting learning the difference between pirating and privateering, and learning that most pirates became pirates because they were privateers in the King's army in their different countries. And basically while different countries were at war with each other a lot, they were hired to attack other people's ships, and then once everyone got into a peace treaty and they decided that that wasn't needed anymore, they went, well, screw this, I like doing this, and they actually became proper pirates because that was the only way of life that they knew and enjoyed. That was really interesting. But apparently Anne had, I really don't do a lot of makeup at all, just to let you know, I just conceal under my eyes and then use mascara. I have this really good brand of mascara. It's called Dirty Hippie Cosmetics, and it's all like reusable stuff, so it's plastic free. This is the spoolie brush, and when you buy it, you can choose to buy it without the brush if you've already got one. The idea is you reuse it lots of times, and it is apparently has a bit of like adjusting to get used to, but I'm quite used to it by now. I didn't really get as much reading done as I was hoping to over the weekend. I work Monday to Friday, so I'm back to work tomorrow. I always hope that I'm gonna do more reading. Purple. So that is it for my beauty routine. If I was going out somewhere, I'd probably put perfume on, but since I'm just filming a video, what's the point? I don't really think I have a lot more to say about Anne. Interesting. This non-fiction is just making me really wish that I could know more about these characters, well, not these characters, these people, because we just don't get to know everything like we do with fiction. I don't know. To be able to sit down and talk to these people and go, is this actually true? How did you feel? How did you do this? Would be really interesting, but we're not gonna know. Morning everyone, it's Monday morning, the 2nd of March, and I'm just going to be doing a quick part for the next chapter that I've read before I get ready for work. I'm probably going to butcher this woman's pronunciation of her name again, but it's French and it's not a very common French name. I've looked up some pronunciations and the only one that I can find in English is from Assassin's Creed. Apparently she's a character in Assassin's Creed. As far as I can pronounce, her name is Thérèse de Méricourt. Thérèse de Méricourt. Sorry. She was a French courtesan and then became a figurehead as part of the French Revolution in, I think it was like the 17 or 1800s in France. She seems like so far the least questionable of all our characters, because the people doing the French Revolution at the time thought that they were doing the right thing and they were striving for something good. It just unfortunately didn't really work, and a lot of the extremists got really bloodthirsty, at least from what I'm reading in this book, because I didn't really know much about the French Revolution except that I vaguely knew that Marie Antoinette got her head chopped off. So far, none of these women are particularly people that I would want to be in the shoes of. Theogony, hers seemed like she was probably the most moral of the people that I've read so far, but she still did, at this one crazy point when they went to try and attack the royals at one stage and the royals had already left, there were some prisoners there that they thought might have been plotting against them, and she basically leads like a slaughter of attacking these people and not even giving them justice, just cutting them down because of supposedly they had a plot. So that's not good. But she does make a speech about how women should be equal and all of this stuff that is way before their time. And I just go, oh my god, if people were having thoughts about like equality for women back then, why has it taken us so long now? But she was declared insane in the end, which is providing what this book is saying. She did actually go insane, which is quite sad for her, but still interesting reading about. The next one I'm actually going to be reading is about a woman who stalked a man, so I think that one will be quite interesting as well. But I have to get ready for work now. I'll see you guys later. Hey everyone, Jo here. It is Wednesday the 4th of March, I'm pretty sure. I've read a few chapters since my last update. I'm actually a little bit sick at the moment. I don't know how well this is going to come across because, like I said, I've read 2 people that I need to talk about, and I really needed to do this before I went on to my third. The first person that I ended up finishing was Lady Caroline Lamb, and she stalked a poet called Lord Byron in the late 17th and early 18th century. I was trying to skim read just then as to whether she actually had a mental disorder, because her tagline is mad, bad, and is dangerous to know as her lover. But probably the worst thing was that when they were going to elope together, his friend was trying to stop them, and Lord Byron wouldn't agree to it. And so Caroline was like, well, I'm just going to do something with this sharp sword here, which is quite crazy. But Byron ended up saying, well, stab yourself then, because you've already broken my heart. And it ends up winding down from there. She just seemed like she wasn't agreeable with anybody that disagreed with her, but that was more in relation to the romance, where she wanted to elope with Byron, she wanted to leave her husband, and at the time that it was I'm pretty sure they were in England, yeah, they were in Regency London, that was considered bad. I'm gonna have to let my dog out. So I kind of feel a little bit sorry for Caroline that she was caught up and swept up into this romance with this guy that basically just enjoyed romance for the chase, and once he got the woman, that was it. I just feel sad for Caroline, and I wish that she was born into the future where she could actually get the help to stop obsessing over him that she clearly needed. And the second other woman that I want to talk about is called James Barry, who was a world-renowned male doctor. James Barry was actually born Margaret Buckley, but when she turned 20, there was this conversation between herself and some of her uncle's influential friends, which resulted in her applying and going to a medical school to be a doctor, which in those days were called surgeons. But she entered as a 14-year-old young male student before puberty, got through, passed with flying colours, and ended up living out the rest of her life as an adult male. James Barry accomplished a lot of things in her life. He was sent out to Cape Town, which was in Africa, an English colony there, and basically reformed the way that the medical industry over there was, and taught them all these new stuff and all these new standards, and especially making sure that people, even the downtrodden and all walks of life, everybody was treated fairly and looked after fairly in their medical profession. So far, James Barry is someone who embodies the qualities that I hoped I'd be reading about when I started Wild Woman, when I started this book. I'm really hopeful that with half of the book to go, I'll end up reading some more excellent characters that I won't be questioning whether I like them or not. I'm currently at the start of a story about a female jockey, and she was openly female, so I'm very interested to see how it goes, and I'll check in with you guys again. I'm in bed with my hair all tied up. It's been weeks, at least 2 weeks, I think, since I last picked up this. I really needed a break from the non-fiction. Sorry about the camera. I'm just holding it up on my knee and my dog's itching himself. But I had a break from Wild Women because I wanted to read something that was fiction, but now I actually need a break from the fiction. So I'm reading A Storm of Swords Part 1, Steel and Snow by George R.R. Martin, and although I'm really enjoying it, I was starting to panic and stress a lot about... Can you not? Can you go to bed? Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Stop. Like, look at this baby. Look at it. Pat this buffet while I'm talking to you guys to hopefully try and get the start of this segment done. I was feeling stressed about the COVID-19 situation, and as well as doing some other self-care things that I will hopefully have talked about in a previous video, so I'm going to link up above. I also decided that at least for tonight, I'm not going to be reading Steel and Snow. I really hope that I'm feeling okay enough to read it in the morning because I really want to. But for now, I'm going to read Wild Women and take some courage from these crazy women, even if they weren't always morally correct. I'll see how I go. Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday morning. I hope it's Thursday morning. Pretty sure it is. But I've just finished reading another chapter about another woman. Her name is Louise Michel, and she was a French communard, which is the people's government in France in the late 1800s. And she was a wonderful human and basic rights advocate. I'm going to change slightly the way that I'm doing this reading vlog. Probably I will have cut some stuff out at the beginning because it was just getting too long. I wanted to start doing the reading vlog of this book because I really liked the way that some of these people were causing me to think and just analyse society and what happened to them. Particularly probably because it's about history, that in a lot of cases the things that happen in history were really quite horrible. But when I actually sat down to film them, a lot of the time I just sort of summarised in a very long-winded way what happened in each women's lives. I'm gonna not do that anymore, and I'm just gonna talk about the women that have made me feel something. In Louise Michel's case, she's a wonderful woman, obviously, even when she was imprisoned because the people's government, the Parisian communards, failed. I'm probably saying it wrong, but the people's government actually failed, and like the French government or whoever took over them in the late 1800s, she was sent to what is now called New Caledonia, which in that time was a French colony. My dog is barking at himself. That's you! And the main thing I wanted to talk about with Louise is, even like aside from the fact that she's really amazing, there was actually one line that I will just quickly talk about. I don't know quite exactly when it was, whether it was straight after the war, but pretty much the Paris government was like, okay, all the rents and loans that we have put on hold during the war, you have to pay them back within 48 hours. So obviously they really alienated a big bunch of people, and just thinking about it, that was probably the catalyst for people forming their own government. But I was just thinking about that in the way that the world is at the moment with coronavirus, going like, lol, I hope everyone's government isn't that dumb, which I don't think they would be, because sometimes we do learn from history. Oh my gosh. That's you! I'm gonna have to let this dog up. So the bit that made me realise why I really want to be reading nonfiction is that even though I consider myself an open-minded person, my mind isn't very wide, though, if that makes sense. Like, if someone gives me a new idea, then it's easy to penetrate and for me to think about it and not, get so scared and that's a horrible idea. I have like an open mind, but because in my 25 years I haven't really sort of travelled that much or read a lot of nonfiction, and I live in a pretty small town, I haven't really experienced a lot. Something that happened at work only like a month ago. I work in a small town. Obviously there are people of different races and skin colours and cultures in my like working environment and in my small town, but I was actually chatting to a girl who's sort of around about the same-ish age as me, and she was like, oh yeah, I'm going to Africa like on my holiday soon, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, have you been before? And she's like, oh, I was actually born there. And I was actually for a second so confused because she was white, and it's like, duh, Africa was, I think, an English colony. So it's all these little things that, even though I'm not judging someone for living in Africa and like colonization was often done really brutally and horribly. I don't even know if there's a good example of it, but it was often done really terribly. And like, yeah, we all know this. People in history were shit, particularly European countries. But I would love to read more nonfiction because I really want to open my mind, or just, I think it's open. I just don't think there's a lot in it. Like, I'm smart at work. I know how to do like admin stuff. I don't know much about the world and what has happened. I would like to know enough so that I'm not like in this kind of situation, like, ooh, mean girls moment. Oh my God, Karen, you can't just ask people why they're white. So I've got to go. I need to iron my clothing. My day is running out in the morning and I have to go to work. Hey everyone. It's Saturday morning, about 11 o'clock. I thought it was 10 o'clock, but that's okay. I am gonna do a bit of a weekend vlog. I'm in Australia, as I've said before, and even though we haven't been forced into like a stage 3 lockdown yet, so I better check the news, we're still being recommended to sort of isolate and only do essential things, so that's what I'll be doing this weekend. I'm still lucky to be having a job. I work Monday to Friday, so now that it's Saturday and I could be out doing a lot of things, I'm not going to. Hopefully I'm going to be reading a big chunk of this book. I considered doing like a 6-hour readathon or 12-hour or something like that, but I don't do great forcing myself to read in long periods of time, and I want to enjoy this book. So I'm going to read a bit this morning, but I'm also feeling really motivated to do like cleaning and organizing, so I'm going to be doing that. And hopefully I'm also going to be making some lamb shanks for myself. I'm going to get to reading and doing other things, and I'll chat to you guys in a bit. This plant is not doing well, and I just pulled off another leaf by accident. There was one there and I just touched it and it came off. I have like a character plant video, but I don't know what it wants. Like, I gave it more water and it's like it's worse. But then I don't know at all. This whole lamb shank thing is actually going okay. I had to brown them first. And now I'm about to put in the plum sauce and some chicken stock. And my friend that works at a grog shop found these really cute little bottles of Moscato because I needed just 1 cup, and then I didn't want to waste the rest of the wine. It's 8 o'clock now, 8 p.m. I can't believe that the day has actually gone by really quickly. I think since my last update, what was I doing? Making dinner? I then took the dog for a walk while it was cooking and had a shower, and then I talked to my mum on the phone, and then I just sat down to finish reading the next part of Wild Women. So I continued on with reading about Flora Sands, who was the English woman who went into the Siberian army for most of her life, and it was actually a really sad story at the end, because she was, I can't remember what age it was, but it was in a time where women were again, meek tea parties, doing the sewing, wearing dresses, doing the washing, not going off into the army. But she actually ended up, so she didn't pretend to be a man like other ones that I've read, but everybody knew that she was a woman. But it was really interesting actually reading it, because I sort of wonder, she actually writes at one point that she wished she'd been born a man, and I wonder, based on like what the times were, whether it was because of the constraints that they put on women at that stage, or whether it's because she actually identified as a man. It's just, I think it would have been, I mean, we'll never know, but that kind of stuff is just kind of fascinating to me to think, was it just the way that society treated women, or did she really feel like she should have been a man even if she was born in this day and age where she could go into the army? When she was, I think, in her 40s, peace happened, and so there was no need to be in the army anymore. She then got married, and I think was happily married, but she found it really hard to then be a lady again and dress in dresses and skirts, and she just couldn't really find what she wanted to do because was just this crazy wild spirit who just wanted to be out, free, living a life of adventure, and that just wasn't apparently what women did in those days. Beanbag and editing morning, baby. Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. I am lying in a beanbag that needs more beans in it because I was really hoping to sit in it, but I'm lying in it. And I'm doing some editing of a video. I've decided that I want to try and release a video every Sunday. If I haven't already mentioned it, it's Sunday now and I still have yet to edit this one. It's really not as bad as I thought it was. I was putting off editing because I thought that I didn't like my makeup in it, but it's actually, it's fine. It's really okay, especially for a beginner makeup person. I would love to get a tripod because I would love to just be able to hold the camera anywhere and film stuff, but I need to edit it and get it up and loading this morning because YouTube takes like 4 hours for me and it's already Sunday, but I'm pretty motivated to do it. It's a fun video. I think I'll definitely be able to stick to a posting schedule of once a week because most of my weekends are free. I design them that way because it's tiring working full time and I just need to finish up. I've only got a couple more minutes of editing to go on this plant video, so I'm editing my video that is plants I've named after book characters, and it was really fun, so I'll leave a link up above. And I also read, so this morning I woke up at 7 or 8 or something like that. I was apparently a really light sleeper last night, and I got up around 8:30 and started reading some of this again after I fed my poopy dog. I started last night. I was reading a chapter about a Sydney gangster woman called Kate Lee. Her and another woman called Tilly Devine were both rulers of the Sydney underworld in the 90s. They were rival gangs. Tilly specialised in prostitution and Kate specialised in selling drugs and alcohol. Apparently not so long ago, in the late 1800s and the early 1900s, you could actually buy narcotics like opium and cocaine from your drugstore, which is obviously bizarre for someone like me. Kate had a business with this when they ended up, it was the Roaring 20s? Yeah, the 1920s, that's right. It was the Roaring 20s, and they were called the Roaring 20s because everybody was on a high after the war had ended, and this is before the Depression hit, so everyone was just spending money like nuts on sex, drugs, and alcohol. And the police were quite disturbed by this, and I guess it must have led to a lot of violence, so they decided that they wanted to try and stop it. And you could only buy alcohol from 6 in the morning till 6 at night, and then a lot of drugs were banned. Obviously people were already addicted to it if you could buy it at your local chemist for pain relief, and afterwards, you know, just suddenly cut off. So Kate Lee had a roaring trade. She was actually a really powerful woman. So that was really actually fascinating reading her one, and I actually decided to put on my want read list a book about a policewoman that had a lot of dealings with her. So that's what I'm really liking about reading this non-fiction book at the moment, is that it's opening me up to the possibility of reading more, even though I don't like particularly the way that they talk about this, because I feel like each time I finally, hello poop, each time I finally get into the story, it then cuts to another one, so that's a bit jarring. But I'm actually really enjoying these last 100 pages more than I was, and at the moment I'm reading about a Russian princess who was a pilot in the Great War. I think it's World War One, I'm not entirely sure. But that has been interesting, so I'm confident that if I don't finish this today, I've got the princesses one and then two more chapters, two more women to read about, and then I'll be done. So if I don't finish it today, I will finish it on Monday definitely, and I'll actually have a book to wrap up in my March wrap up. Alright, I'll check in later because this has been like a 5-minute update, but I've felt like it, and it's such a gorgeous bloody day. I'll take you guys a picture of my view because it is fantabulous, and I am really happy with our house, even like 2 to nearly 3 years at the end of this year on, I still love it and I love where I live, and I hope that I never take it for granted. Hey everyone, it's 9 o'clock now and I have actually finished reading Wild Women today. So I finished reading it a couple of hours ago, but I made some mini quiches and in between and had dinner and all that kind of stuff as well. But I ended up giving this 4 stars. I rate non-fiction differently, I think, than what I rate fiction, because I'm still getting used to the genre and it just gives me a different feeling. I did enjoy the last 2 women that I was reading about. One was Janis Joplin, the famous singer, and the other one was Bonnie Parker from Bonnie and Clyde. And they were 2 sort of sad stories to end on. Probably the downfall in this book is that I was really expecting it to be about a lot of good wild women as well, but I felt like most of the women features in it were crazy and not nice and have questionable morals. A big theme in this as well is drugs and addictions and mental health, which is definitely all stuff that needs to be talked about as well. But I just feel like I don't know, I guess I went into this hoping for stories about how women went past social norms, but in like a good way. But we got sort of a bit of everything, but slightly more towards the bad side. So it wasn't bad. It was interesting. It kept me captivated, particularly when I was reading it this second time. I was definitely more invested. So I'm looking forward to reading more nonfiction in the future. But that'll be the end of this reading vlog, and thanks everybody for watching. I'm quite imagining it's going to be a bit long at this stage, so if you've stuck with me to the end, thanks so much. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you've enjoyed this and want to, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye!